This conference will now be recorded.
All right, well, welcome everyone. I appreciate your time and the opportunity for you to give me a chance to let you understand more about our products. So this is not a very large group today, and I would recommend that whenever there is a question that you feel is something you need an answer to, just stop me right there. Don't wait till the end. I have about 3 slides or 4, I think, throughout the presentation where I say, okay, do you have any questions? Say when we're finished with a specific product. But because it's a relatively small group, it sometimes is easier for you. And sometimes when people hold their questions, they'll forget. So I want to make sure that you get everything you need. So don't hesitate to ask questions throughout the session.
You got it.
Typically, when I start these things, I just want people to know who I am. So again, my name is Jack Bartell. I'm the manager of technical services for North America for Olympia Splendid. And I have actually been a full-time employee with them since January 1st. I was a full-time consultant with them for 3 months prior to that. But I started in this industry as a service technician. This is my 50th year in HVAC. After just spending 9 years just trying to learn my trade, I was then service manager in residential sales with Nastus Brothers, which was a mid-size contractor in New Jersey where I lived at the time. I spent 15 years prior to this gig with Olympia Splendid with a York International, second largest distributor in the country. So I started with them 15 years ago. They were an $84 million business, I believe. And when I left them in August, they are now a $187 million business. So they grew very nicely. And prior to that, I was 16 years with York International. So that was, I was their service person and then manager of training. But they gave me an opportunity to travel all over the world: China, Singapore, Thailand, Australia, the Middle East, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, 48 of the 50 states. So it was that kind of travel is really a young guy's game, though. So, I still enjoy travel, but not to that degree. And then because I've been in this industry so long, I try to give back, and I sit on 4 national committees, ACCA, RSES, PARA, and NATE. So if you have any questions about any of those organizations, or if there's anything I can do to help you, please don't hesitate, because I know in each of those organizations, I know the people that can get things done. So if you ever need help, don't hesitate to reach out. So I also tell people there are 2 things that I do, and all of you folks are in Florida, correct?
That is correct. Yes. Yep.
So one of the things I do is well, I do 2 things primarily: is I work and I fish. Okay, so if I'm not working, I'm out on my boat or someone else's boat and I fish. In fact, that middle picture down here was from February down in the Keys in what the hell key was it? Marathon Key. Had a very, very good day. So that's actually, as painful as it is for me to say, that was the last time I had any fishing, and that was a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, we like to fish here in Florida, so.
I figured as much. But if you find your way up to southeastern Virginia, don't hesitate to give me a call, because that's my current ride right there, and we can go out and do a little fishing, and we can talk about heat and air while we're out there, and that way I can then build a company for the fuel. So you got to help me out here.
Hey, don't threaten us.
So that's my current ride, which is actually on the market, and this is the boat I just bought. So the reason I
used to be a proud owner of a Hydrosport.
Oh, is that right?
Yes, I had a 33 foot.
A 33. Well, this is a 30, and I've actually fished many times on this boat, because the guy riding in the top is Captain Mike, and he's a good friend of mine. In fact, this boat is right across the creek from where I live. But my intent starting in December is to take it down the Intercoastal, and I will spend 3 to 4 months a year in Florida, So I will be accessible to you folks whenever, but I may spend, a month or so up at Jacksonville, then I'll go down as far as the Keys. I may even go out to the Bahamas for a week. It'll just be playing it by ear.
Awesome.
That's my plan. But enough of that. Let's talk about the company. So before we talk about product, I think it's important for you to understand that this company is not a Johnny-come-lately company. Most people in North America have never heard of Olympia Splendid because this is their first time selling in this market. But they have been around since 1956, and they manufacture some very unique products. And I'm going to talk shortly about the quality of their products because it's, in my view, unprecedented, the level of quality that they provide. But it's a family-owned business. There are, I think, 230 employees. Unfortunately, right now they're located about 30 miles from the hottest red zone in Italy as far as the virus was concerned. But fortunately, so far as I know, no one in the company or any of their family has gotten it. And but I'm sure that every one of them in this picture probably knows someone who does or has, because that was really bad over there. So hopefully we're going to get that behind us shortly. And this gives you a good idea of the footprint that we have around the world. So we are on 4 continents. We are in, Australia, South America, North America, all of Europe, China. So again, we have a global footprint that is, for a company of the size they are, has done quite well, because when you produce something that is both unique and functional, people stand up and notice. So the products that we have, I think you're going to find to be very acceptable. So the first product that we're going to talk about is our Maestro. And the Maestro product line is undoubtedly our most sought after product. And if you look here, we have 2 versions actually. We have the Maestro Smart, which is a single stage rotary compressor, on, off. It is 9,212 BTUs, and it's 8,600 BTUs of heating. But it is again, it is a design that has been around for, this specific design has been around for more than 10 years and been installed for and there was an original unit that went for another 10 years. So there's over 20 years of product in the field when it comes to the Maestro Smart. Okay. So one of the things that's most unique about this product, hold on here, I've got to get, let's see if this works here. You can see that the only thing that is shown on the outside are these 2 8-inch grills. So in the upper right-hand corner there, you see a list of, those 2, and that means that was installed underneath a window. Okay. And then if you look at the lower right, you can see multiple units installed on each floor, and these were installed in the upper or above the window, or on the high side of the wall. And because it's installed on the high side of the wall, that means this unit can be installed either 4 inches from the floor or 4 inches from the ceiling, and each application works equally as well. So it can be installed anywhere. And again, the outside has only 2 8-inch holes, and if it needed, it would be also a 3/4 inch hole for condensation. Now, in your market, I would say you're definitely going to want to have a condensate drain on yours, because from what I'm told, Florida has some humidity now and then.
Just a little.
Yeah, right. So we'll talk about that coming up as well. But actually in the summertime, this unit produces almost no condensate because it re-evaporates it and it goes out. But I'll talk about that shortly. So again, it is an Italian design. It is manufactured and designed in Italy, so it has a very European look and feel to it. And when you see the Pro, that one takes it to the next level. They actually spent a large sum of money getting one of the finest marketing and design companies in Italy to design the body of the Pro. So it is very, very pretty. It uses what they call a Pure System 2. So it's a filter system that it actually comes with 3 filters. 2 are optional, and you put them on if you want them. And the maintenance is quite easy because all you have to do is lift up the one flap, take the filters out, clean them, put them back in. So maintenance is just cleaning filters, although certainly once a year, it's always the recommendation, as for any system, that the system be cleaned and the coils cleaned, and of course the drains cleaned. And because I take all of the technical calls from anywhere in North America, I can tell you the majority of the calls I get are because of the unit having stopped because the drain is plugged up, or the unit stopped because it's going out on high pressure. And then I tell them, look, clean the drain pan, clean the coils, and then call me back if there's still a problem. I never hear back from them again. So maintenance is always a key.
Always. I have a real quick question since
Sure.
you're there. So obviously maintaining one of these things, do you do mainly an inline coil clean, or do you agree on more aggressive cleaner to clean these? Obviously being low to the floor, they're going to obviously suck up quite a bit.
Well, the key really is, all new coils, in my view, should be cleaned only with, good grease cutting soap and water. None of this fancy stuff that can break down the metals and the materials. But the beauty about this unit is it basically hangs on the wall on a bracket. So let's say you're going there for yearly maintenance. You can just lift it off of the wall, off the brackets, and you put it onto say a dolly, and you roll it outside, and you can wash it outside, so you don't have to worry about if you spill something on people's carpets or this or that. So it's very easy to clean from that perspective. Basically, you take the body off and the back off, and you get very easy access to everything. So
awesome. That's what I wanted to hear. That was a big question of mine. Thank you.
No problem. So the other thing to keep in mind, this is a patented design. Now, nobody in the world has a unit quite like this. And by being patented, that means, other manufacturers are going to look at this and stand up and take notice, because we're starting to make an impact. And my guess is, if somebody decides they're going to try to replicate this, you've still got 2.5 to 3 years minimum of exclusivity, because the design process and the R&D timeline to go from conception to beta is typically 2.5 to 3 years. And having worked for a large manufacturer for many years, I can tell you, anytime a manufacturer attempts to shorten that curve, nothing good comes from that. So because things get missed, So the warranty on the compressor is 7 years on the compressor, and there's a 2-year warranty on parts. But if a compressor fails in the first year, we just give you a new unit. So let me explain why we're so confident in that. First of all, there are over 500,000 units installed around the world. Okay, and in my view, that says a lot, because this is not a product that you have to worry. Oh, it's new. I wonder what's going to happen. There's always a curve, Well, this unit's been out there, the Smart, for 20 years, and there's a warranty or sales to warranty ratio that all manufacturers apply to specific models or products. And because I was involved with the design team of a number of products in my career at York, I know exactly what it takes to create a warranty, a sales to warranty ratio. So basically, there's three inputs that go into that. Parts that fail within the first 30 days, parts that fail within the first year, and parts that fail within the first 5 years. Okay, so those 3 metrics get massaged into a formula that gives you a warranty to sales ratio. When I worked for that manufacturer, if we produced a product and after 5 years, if we had a warranty ratio of 2% or less, we thought we were geniuses, because that is a very, very good number when you consider you're producing, tens of thousands of a specific product, right? So 2% is not bad. By comparison to this, it's not good either, because our warranty rate with over 500,000 in the field for up to 20 years is 0.002%. Now that is darn near perfect. So if anybody's getting into the business with Olympia Splendid because of how much they think they'll make on repair parts, they're going to be sadly mistaken, because not many fail.
Hey, Jack.
Yes.
Hey, Jack, I have a question, and I'm not, Dan's more, Dan comes from the contractor side, but a 7-year compressor and 2-year parts. I understand this is a one-of-a-kind unit, but is that pretty competitive? Is that standard compared to, some of the products that we're gonna compete with? Or
yes, and I think,
I'm just not familiar with the competition side of things from a warranty standpoint.
Backs out there have 1-year part, 5-year compressor. Some of them have 5-year part, 10-year compressor on the higher end models, right? But again, I think you'll find nobody else, I don't believe, has if a compressor fails the first year, we just give you a new unit. So we feel that based on the history of this unit and the warranty ratio, that is both a very competitive and fair warranty. And
Yep.
We do, by the way, have all the parts here in the United States. So it's not like we got to wait for something to come from Italy. Right, currently, all our inventory on parts is in New Jersey. And again, we can have it shipped to you as quickly as overnight if you want to pay that freight. But of the 500,000 units that are in the field, there have been 2 compressors returned. Now, think about that number, 2.
That's obviously very monumental. If I may ask, what compressor brand are you guys using, or do you have your own?
No. It's LG.
So you're using LG?
In the Smart, it's an LG rotary, and in the Pro, it's an LG inverter driven. But LG makes more compressors than anybody in the world, and quite frankly, they do a very good job at it. So, and I've been in, I've sold and serviced a great many Mitsubishi and Fujitsu and Daikin VRFs and also the multi splits, minis, and LG compressors are rock solid. In the upper left, you see the remote control. So every unit comes with a remote control, and you can see that door that comes down there gives you kind of access to all of the functions that it can provide. And then in the lower right are 2 numbers that you may not be familiar with. The top one is STC, that's sound transmission class, and the bottom one is OITC, or outdoor indoor transmission class. And those 2 numbers are used by many of the larger cities in the United States, and what they are intended to show to a consumer is that the higher the number, when you have a building and you then impact that building or that wall by putting this unit on the wall, you have to cut holes in the wall in order for that to happen. Okay, so how much more noise is now allowed to go from outside to inside? And as you might expect in cities, there's a lot of noise. So if you're going to impact that building in any real negative way, they don't even want it. You can't. So every city has their own number that you have to exceed. But STC, sound transmission class, of a 36 is the highest number that you can achieve. There's no way to get higher than that. Okay. So the OITC of 25 is the highest number achievable. So no one will ever exceed the number that we have. Someone may reach it, and tie it, but you can't do better. And so the higher the number, the better. Now, Amana actually publishes a piece of marketing literature that shows how proud they are of the STC and OITC on their units. But their best unit, STC, is a 31. Their best unit with an OITC is a 25. I'm sorry, a 21. So you have a good tool there to help with your sales in explaining how this unit, when you put this unit on the wall, there will be zero impact inside the home because this unit was installed. And I think that's an important and key metric to keep in as part of your sales pitch. So let's talk about how it installs. Now, it is beyond a doubt probably the easiest unit to install. There's no refrigeration guy needed. You need someone that can cut a hole in a wall and put a screw and a lag into the wall, and then it gets plugged into the wall, 115 volt. So I have been on jobs where it's taken 45 minutes to install, and on jobs where it's taken 4.5 hours because they're going through solid concrete or stone, and then you have to drill through that. But basically, to install it, it comes with everything you need. There's nothing that you have to provide outside except perhaps a lag, but I'll explain that when we get to it. So the unit comes with a drilling template. So you put that on the wall where you intend to cut the holes. And of course, one of the things that's important to remember about this unit is it has to be installed on a wall that communicates with the outside. So it can't be installed on an inside wall. You cannot add elbows or bends to the duct. So it has to be a wall that is no more than 39 inches deep. And again, it must, and no elbows allowed. So that limits some installations, but as long as you have access to an outside wall, you are good to go. So the template is a folded up piece of paper that ships with the unit. It's 36 inches by 24 inches. And there you kind of see it. There you kind of see it left over, where the holes are marked out for you. And I'm going to point something out here. So here is your hole for your condensate drain, okay? And then if you wanted to take your electric and take your electric inside the wall as opposed to plug it into an outlet, then here's where the electric would go through the wall if needed, okay? But the two primary holes are up here. So you have an 8-inch hole, and you can see it's marked out here for you, 8-inch. Because moving this is not easy by hand. And then you have an 8-inch hole on the intake, okay? So the recommendation from the factory is that you drill 2 8-inch holes for both your condenser air in and your condenser air out. But you'll notice that there's also 2 6.4-inch holes that can also be used. Now you can, if you don't have the room, you have some geometric constraint that prevents you from using 2 8-inch holes, then you can run 2 6.4-inch holes. And by doing the 6.4-inch holes, you have more room between them, and again, you have a smaller size though, so you lose a little bit of efficiency and a little bit of capacity. Now these are, well,
what are you looking at capacity wise? How much are you losing?
It's less than 2%. Okay, so it's measurable, but it's not overly significant. Okay, but it does impact the capacity. It does impact the efficiency, but it's small enough that it doesn't really harm the unit. But you can't just do it without letting people know that, okay, but if you don't have the room, you don't have the room. Agreed?
Agreed. Yep.
So like I said, the recommendation will always be to use the 8, but if you had to, you have another option. And then up top here, you see this is where the bracket goes. And then on the Smart, you have this long bracket, which I'll show you shortly. And on the Pro, you just have 2 clips, one on each end. And you just level them, put them into the wall, and to hold the wall. And the unit weighs about 88 pounds. So after you've marked your holes, you're going to cut your 2 8-inch holes and 1 for the drain. And And you have to install ductwork that goes from the inside wall to the outside wall. And that ductwork ships with the unit. And there you see the ductwork. This is just laying on my floor, actually. And it's just a flat piece of composite plastic. And so you cut it with a razor knife to about an inch or inch and a half short of the total depth of your wall from the outside to the inside. And then you just roll it up and there's your 8-inch duct, okay? So you put tape on the seam on the top and the tape on the outside seam, a piece of tape on the inside seam, and then you make sure the seam is near the top and not on the bottom. And your ductwork is finished, okay? So quite easy to install. Go ahead.
Aluminum tape, aluminum UL tape, or black mastic?
Doesn't have to be aluminum. There's certainly, I think most code calls for UL 181 tape. But when you think about it, once it goes into the wall, there's nowhere for it to go. It can't open up again because it's being held by the holes that you put in, right? So if you use cheap tape, then you're likely you could wind up getting some leakage, but if you use good tape, it's not going anywhere.
Fair enough.
So after you install your duct, now you have to put the grills on. Now the grills fold in half, the outside grill. And the reason for that is, let's say you're on the 2nd floor of a home, or you're on the 12th floor of a building. Setting up ladders and scaffolds just to put a grill on the outside can be a challenge. And so you fold those grills in half, and you use these clips and chains and springs. You attach them onto the outside grill, then you push the grill through the wall, and then it's hanging on the chains, but when it goes through the wall, it springs open. Now the grill is in the position it needs to be. Then you take the springs and the chains and you attach them to the ring that's on the inside wall, and you pull them tight and they're held together and you're basically done. The other thing you see there is the anchors that ship with the unit. Now, again, the unit weighs 88 pounds. So depending on where you can position the unit, if you can get a wood screw into a stud, that's fantastic. If not, you just have to go to the hardware store and get some butterfly bolts and nuts, and you put 2 or 3 of those in, and that's plenty good enough in sheetrock to hold 88 pounds. One of the things you want to be careful of, though, is it's the installer's responsibility to make sure that the wall can hold that weight. So whatever they need to provide, if it's not what comes with the unit, they just need to have the confidence that that will hold correctly. And we have, as far as I know, I don't know of anybody that's made that mistake yet, although I'm sure there are people that will. So these are the outside grills and the inside rings. And you can see those are plastic. They can be painted to whatever color you like. And on the bottom here, you can see this bracket. So that's the bracket that gets mounted on the wall, okay? So the next thing is the remote control and the plug. Now, this unit, the smart unit, the remote control that comes with it is Fahrenheit only. So if you had a customer that just moved here from Europe or Canada, they may want Celsius. And if that's the case, then you have to order a Celsius accessory remote. Now on the Pro, the single remote comes for either centigrade or Fahrenheit. So, and then you can see there's a little flap that comes down, and then you see this little round disc here that's got sticky tape on the other side. So you can mount that on the wall, and then you always know where your remote control is. And then you can also see that the plug is a standard 110 volt plug, and it is a GFI plug. So this unit uses about 8.5 amps. So it can be installed in a standard existing wall plug without a problem. In the installation instructions, it tells you we recommend a dedicated circuit. But recommend is not saying you must, it's saying, if it's a dedicated circuit, that means there's no other loads on it. So if you install this into a wall outlet, you should be fine, unless they also have a refrigerator and a fan on there as well. And now maybe you're going to exceed the rating of that circuit breaker. So again, it's just that when you install them, you just want to make sure that the consumer knows, hey, whatever this circuit is here and everything's working good, don't add anything into that circuit. Because adding in a dedicated circuit on retrofit is not the easiest thing to do.
No. May I interject real quick on
Sure.
that?
Sure.
Is permitting required? I would go with no.
Well, and that's something that we have, and I've looked into it, and I don't want to say that I am now an expert on code in Florida, but from everything I've read, this unit is rated by the Department of Energy as a room air conditioner. You don't need a permit to put in a room air conditioner because you're not impacting the electric of the home, and you're not impacting what could be a structural issue on. So in Florida, from what I understand, when you're putting in, say, a mini split, you need a mechanical permit and you need a electrical permit, and those cost damn near $500. So this unit doesn't require either of those. Now, I'm not telling you that, and again, whatever part of Florida you're doing business in, you probably need to validate that with your local officials. But if you tell them this unit is rated as by the Department of Energy as a room air conditioner, and you're just plugging it in the wall, I'd be surprised if they said anything other than, well, go ahead, no problem here. Does that answer your question?
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Excellent. So this is a job we actually did up in Toronto, and it's a glass building, and the local contractor sourced grills from that are basically clear plastic that have the same free area as the one we supplied, and then they created a composite frame that they could mount the unit on, and there's the finished product there, where from the outside it looks still very attractive, but they don't, there's not a huge hole in the building. There's only 2 8-inch holes, and so I think that's going to be a great solution. And one of the reasons why I like to show this slide is one of the jobs I'm responsible for is to assist in application questions. So if you ever have a job that is, say, a little bit outside of the ordinary, and you need to think outside the box to do that, just give me a call. We'll put our heads together, and I'm sure we can find either we're going to find a solution that you and I are comfortable with, or I may say to you, look, we can't do this one. We're going to have to pass this one up. And for example, I had a guy call me just a few days ago, and he has a wall that's only 24 inches, but he can't go straight out. So he wants to put a 45 in and a 45 out, And so basically 2 45s in both the intake and the exhaust. And I said, I can't agree to that. I said, if you install it that way, and if you don't have a problem, well, then there's not a problem. But if you install it that way and you have a issue with moving air, then there's nothing I can do to help. So I will always do what I can to give you the right answer. This is a quick slide just showing you the condenser air go in and condenser air out. Keep in mind that the condenser air and the supply air and return air are completely separate and well insulated from one another. So none of the air from outside goes to the inside, and none of the air from the inside makes its way to the outside. So you're not doing any air exchange, if you will, with the outside because of this unit. Now the question sometimes comes up where, okay, I need to provide ventilation based on code. How do I get ventilation in with your unit. I don't have a good answer for that right now, other than we are looking at a means of adding some outside air that we can, manage how much outside air is coming in so that we can meet code, but that's still being addressed.
It's not an issue in Florida, but yes, if it was a commercial application, they do require 10%. So that was one of my questions. Thank you.
This is only going to be for this is going to be for a room or for 2 rooms. So it's not like it's going to be all the infiltration you'd need for the building. So I don't think it should be a big problem. This is basically just a picture showing how the spring and chain pull the grill and the ring together. So you're just pulling that chain tight, and now it's holding up against the outside wall. You're done. You don't even have to go outside, okay? But you do want to make sure that when you drill your holes, that you drill it so that the duct is on a slight pitch. A slight pitch to the outside. And that way, if any water gets in here from a rain or something, it just runs back out again. And then the other thing to keep in mind is only use the grill that we ship you, or a grill that we have approved as a third-party vendor. And I'm currently in negotiation with a couple, like this job here that had this rectangular grill put on there, failed in the field with high pressure switch trips because they did not have enough free area to move the air that was required. So we are working with a couple of vendors to provide a rectangular solution. I might have one answer will be 2 rectangulars, or maybe it'd be 1 big rectangle. Okay, keep hitting the button. And so if you have a need for something other than what ships with the factory, please call me first and let's make sure we agree on what the correct thing to do will be. And then filters or mesh grids. Currently, there are none available. I am also working with a vendor that will provide me with a mesh grid that will allow enough free area that it will keep out the things like geckos and some of the critters that you guys have in Florida. But we don't want it to be so tight like what happened here, where it becomes blocked up and the unit stops working because it's going out on high pressure. So again, we've got a expansion to our product line that we are looking at with accessories that should correct all of these fears. And I know when I did a presentation for the Florida market some time ago, there was concern about that grill on the outside wall. We need to have, and we need to be able to provide maybe a local inspector with proof that we have what they call a hurricane kit. So if there's going to be a named storm, you have to have a means of covering up that hole in the building to prevent, driving rain and debris and all of that. You guys are probably familiar with that, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, that's one of the things Diego and I talked about at the AHR show in Orlando.
Yeah, of course. But I already have the solution for that. I created a hurricane kit. And
look at that.
What's that?
That's great.
It consists of, if you go down to Home Depot or Lowe's, and you go to the sheet metal area where they sell ductwork, you will find an 8-inch cap. Okay. So the 8-inch cap, you take the grill off of the outside wall, and basically the way this 8-inch cap is going to work is you put a piece of insulation on the inside of that cap, and then you put it into the hole where that grill was, and now you have your hurricane kit installed. It's completely sealed, it's insulated, and then when the hurricane is over, you take that cap off, you put it in, put it away, and you save it for the next named storm. So it's very inexpensive, but at my view, it solves the problem. Anybody have any issue with that?
I don't have any issue with that. I will just tell you, in Nick's down in the Miami area, when you're dealing with Miami-Dade, Broward County, that cap will need to have a rating on it. And I know it's a pain and it's stupid, but the way they work down there, it's for seismic or anything that comes to deal with a hurricane. that piece, I make a suggestion. If you talk with Miami Tech, they're a sheet metal shop that do a lot of anchoring for that area. They're going to require that. Just an FYI.
And then that's fine. So again, because I'm not Florida based, although I will be in December for a few months a year, I'm not familiar with those local rules. So if you can come up with, you know, what the rate, how the rating gets, you know, who does the rating, right? There's probably people that do that kind of thing where they rate them.
Okay? Yeah. Miami Tech, if you deal with them, they have engineers on staff, and they handle a lot of air conditioning issues with that. And they can obviously get the ratings done through the state so that it's covered.
Yeah. So
I don't want to beat it to death. I just want that will be an issue.
It's a fair point, and if you have an opportunity to drop me an email with that company's name and phone number, I will work to see that we get that done. Now, you know what it's like when it comes to doing accessories. You know, you can go down to Lowe's and buy, you know, this cap for you know, $6 probably, you know,
yeah,
or maybe that, and then you put a little piece of fiberglass insulation on there. Now I have to go have it tested. So I don't know what the cost is to have it tested, but that takes this, what I would normally say put as my hurricane kit at $20. Now it's a $45 kit because it's going to have a rating on it. Because I don't know what the cost is going to be, you know.
Nickel agree with me that county is a nightmare. Dade County is just a handful.
And that's why I said,
yeah, they can
as far as I'm concerned, the no permit thing is something that, particularly for Dade County, maybe you need to make sure you know, go visit one of your local inspectors and get their input. And again, because it's rated as a room air conditioner, my guess is that it would not require anything. But if they may look at this and say, you know what, maybe it does, but maybe it does. So how about just give us $300 for one permit, you know?
Yeah, no, without a doubt.
So again, as I mentioned earlier, this unit can be installed high or low on the wall. And if it's installed high on the wall, you have to switch the flap so that when it's oscillating, it's blowing the air down and not up to where it's just going up against the ceiling. So that takes about 2 minutes, but it is something you need to do when you install it high wall application. And then condensate drain, again, it should be pitched to the outside. You guys don't have to worry about freezing. So what I tell folks to do typically is, if this is, say, your application down here, okay, then you put it out the wall, and any condensate that's going to drip, you know, has the capability of maybe staining the wall. So the best thing to do would be to take 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch PVC and run the hose into the PVC, say into an elbow up against the wall, and then you run the PVC down to about 3 inches from the floor, or from the dirt. And then, you know, it's not going to stain the wall, and hopefully that's going to be, and I don't know what your local code allows for, but you know, the water is the same water that went in. It's just, it's gone, you know, its heat content changed, but the water didn't change, you know.
Well, if we don't have to pull a permit in Florida, the requirement's 12 inches off the wall. So it's still not a big deal. We can run down the wall as long as it's coming out. So it shouldn't be an issue.
Good. Okay, great. Okay. And then also, if the drain line gets plugged up, okay, there's a float in the unit. There's 2 floats actually. The lower float is a normally open float switch. And when the condensate level rises, it closes a switch that turns on a pump and pumps the condensate to the outdoor coil, where it is splashed across the condenser coil, or the outdoor coil that's acting as the condenser, and it increases efficiency, and it reduces energy cost, and it re-evaporates the condensate. So in the summertime, you may not see very much condensate at all because it's all being re-evaporated. Now in your market, I'm guessing you'll see some because you can only re-evaporate so much if you're in a very humid area. But then there's a second float that's higher up, and it's a normally closed switch that opens if the condensate reaches that level. And if it reaches that level, it shuts the unit off, okay? So what it doesn't want to do is allow the unit to continue to run so you have water dripping inside your building, okay? But let's say the customer can't get to someone to come clean their drain quickly enough. Well, they can open up this little flap on the bottom, pull the plug out of the drain, and they can drain all the condensate out. Now they're back in business, but it would still have to be corrected. All right. Well, that is our Maestro Smart product. I'm going to open it up here for questions on anything having to do with the Smart.
I don't have any questions.
Okay. Then we'll
I've,
just
Yeah, we can move along. I think you've answered everything for me on this one.
Good. So the Pro is, as I mentioned earlier, the Smart is single stage rotary compressor. The Pro is a inverter driven compressor. And you can see the sound transmission and indoor outdoor transmission classes are the same, also patented. But as I said, it's a new design, manufactured again in Italy, and it's a much more contemporary look to it than the Smart. And it uses less watts than does the smaller unit, because it has ECM motor technology on the indoor and outdoor fan, as well as inverter driven compressor. So everything starts slowly and doesn't lock rotor, and it has proven to be a very effective solution for us, where they want some higher efficiency and quieted, a little more quiet operation. And again, here are the features and functions, if you will. And by the way, this is just a screenshot of the tech guide. And when we are finished with this presentation, I will be sending to Nick a link, two links actually. One will allow you to watch this video if you wanted to at any time that suits you. The second one will allow you to download a zip file that will have all the technical guides, installation instructions, wiring diagrams, cooling and heating curves, part lists, and this PowerPoint presentation. So basically, you'll have all the literature you need in one zip file.
Awesome. Yeah, I think Diego sent us the video, but yeah, all that other information would be great.
Yeah, well, and again, you can then print, the tech sheet. The tech guides or the specification sheets are basically double-sided, so you have all the features and benefits on one side, and then on the other side, you have all the electrical characteristics and all of that. So this has a dehumidification mode, fan only, economy mode, auto mode, sleep mode, and silent mode. So the logic in the unit, when you set it for these individual modes, it then determines how fast should I run that compressor, how fast should I run that indoor and outdoor fan to get the most functionality for this specific mode of operation. So there's very little that the consumer has to do other than set the mode and set the temperature. Now the user interface or the remote control, I mentioned earlier that the Pro, or the Smart, I should say, the Smart is Fahrenheit only, but the Pro, there's a button on the bottom right, and it's just that you press it, you have Celsius, you press it, you have Fahrenheit. So that kind of simplifies things a little bit. And then, of course, all these other things are kind of self-explanatory. And here are all the icons that are used. So this is in the install book that comes with the unit, and you can see that every icon is identified, so you can very clearly determine. I just noticed a mistake in my slide here. I thought I had corrected, but one of the things I did was I eliminated the word ventilation everywhere in the manual, because we're not providing ventilation, but in Italy, supply air is basically called ventilation. So It's just, so I just know, basically what I have to do is change all of those ventilations there to fan speed, because I think some people in the US would look at ventilation and wonder, oh, well, how many CFM am I bringing in from outside, you know? And this, I think you might be interested in, because I've already got a couple of them that are going to be going into Miami or into the South Florida. It is a 6-sided box that is what I'm calling our PTAC retrofit kit. In fact, this is just a concept of it here. And the design is such that you're going to leave if you have a PTAC and you're going to replace the PTAC, typically there are 2 sizes of PTACs, the older ones, which were about 32 inches, and the larger ones, which are what, 42 inches, I think, today. But the older ones were all, so we're making 2 sizes of this. And you leave the sleeve for the PTAC in place, and then you're going to slide this box into its place. I have to go here, and then I have to go. I think it's
Nick, that'll be huge for us down here with all this hospitality.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I have this out on my deck right now where I was doing some testing, but it's nothing more than a 1.5 inch duct board, and it'll be 6-sided. So it'll basically come in 4 pieces, 2 sides with 2 flaps that will make, you know, all 4 sides. Then there'll be a front and a back, and you just put tape on it and you tape it together, okay, until you have a full cube. And you know, this is kind of a picture of it after I taped it all up. And then it's going to come with this little label on there. Let me make this a little bit larger. So it'll come with this label on there that, you know, shows the part number. And of course, some of the folks that are going to be doing this may never have worked with duct board before. So this first paragraph just tells them how to safely use the material. And then the second paragraph explains how to install it. So in other words, they're going to take that PTAC out of that sleeve, and they're going to install this box in that sleeve. Now they have 3 inches of insulation on all 6 sides to both attenuate sound and act as an insulator for transferring heat indoors to out. So it serves a lot of purposes, and I think it's probably crap, we got this in the wrong place.
We have a lot of duct board down here. That's all we use. We don't use metal very much.
Right, and so, you know, we're going to be making this as a kit and putting it in inventory. You know, you might have local folks that'll make it for you, you know, because again, it's nothing but a 6-sided box, right? So we'll probably, when we get this finished, we're going to be selling them, I think, in as 1Z, 2Z. So if you buy one of these, it might be $129 for the kit to be boxed and shipped to you. It'll include tape and everything, right? Or if you buy 4 or 5 at a time, you know, or whatever, then maybe they're going to be $99. But if you can have them manufactured more cost effectively locally, that's your business, you know?
Yeah, no, I understand.
But I think it's a very easy solution, because once you put that box into the PTAC, you hang your unit or your template on the wall, cut out your holes out of the duct, or cut out your holes out of the cube, and boom, you're ready to move on. Now, you'll notice that we didn't go into any of the installation things that I did on the Smart, because they install exactly the same way. So there's no point in covering all of that twice, okay? So anyone have questions on the Maestro Pro?
That was the. I don't have a question. I don't have a question. just a comment, but yeah, that was the unit that really stood out to me at the AHR Expo, and just aesthetically, it looks, I mean, really sleek.
I mean, the newer design, and like I said, they paid big money to get that one of the most well-known design and marketing companies in Italy. And you know, Italians are known for their very unique designs, and I really like the way that Pro looks by comparison to the Smart. You know, so we're excited about it, and we're selling a bunch of them. You know what has proved to be one of our biggest markets so far? And because it's getting toward warm weather, it's ramping up, Alaska. So 20 years ago, nobody in Alaska had air conditioning. Now, you know, they get maybe 3 weeks to a month where it's above 90 and it's humid. So people in Alaska don't want to air condition their whole houses, and they couldn't give two craps about how much heat you produce because they already have all the heat they need. But the air conditioning, they just want it. The room they're going to be sleeping in, they want that to be comfortable at night. So we're selling these like hotcakes in Alaska.
Yeah. Hey, Jack, I got a question.
Sure.
You mentioned that you're doing some installs here in Florida, and you have some customers that are interested. Are those just like demo installations? Is that with like a contractor, you know, or a distributor? How did those pop up?
Well, Diego is more responsible for that than I am. For instance, a couple of them that are down the Miami area is a builder that would be a national account for us, because we sell to them directly because they buy directly from us in South Florida, and for instance, I had a couple shipped to Indianapolis. They have some going into Georgia. So if it's not a national account, then typically the sales are through either a distributor or an agent. So, and folks like yourselves, I guess you would consider yourself an agent, correct?
Yeah, you know, most, and this is one of the things that Dan and I discussed is obviously it's, you know, the first route is to sell it through distribution. So the Johnstone Supplies, the Gem Airs, the Watsco companies, the RE Michaels. I think what's going to take a little time, or we're going to have to do a lot of pull through. So we have obviously a lot of contractor relationships. So I think the one thing that, you know, we're going to have to work on is really getting some of the larger contractors, you know, interested, invested, being able to show them you know, a hands-on installation and kind of drive interest that way. So.
Well, and I agree. And like I say, the sales opportunities and the national accounts and that falls under Diego's bailiwick. So I can't really help much with that, other than I know that we would prefer always to sell through a agent and a distributor, because that means they're going to stock product and take care of themselves, and that we don't have to ship everything from New Jersey, because then that adds cost as well, right? So
yep.
But Diego can certainly answer more of those questions than I can. So what's coming down the road for Olympia Splendid? We've got a few products that we think you're interested in, that you may have an interest in.
I have one question. Sorry, Jack, hold on one second. I'm sorry. So here's, you know, we're obviously in an extremely equipment sensitive market, obviously the most in North America. Huge down here is obviously, I know there's no way to validate SEER rating on this unit, because you obviously don't have two pieces. But I know, obviously, I see the amps and stuff like that. How do you guys, in like your South America market that's in like a tropical weather, sell that end of it technically?
Well, so SEER really has nothing to do with whether you have an indoor and an outdoor unit. It's seasonal energy efficiency ratio. That's a fairly straightforward mathematical formula, and these units are, the SEER rating on these units is not as high as you might expect to see on a mini split or on larger PTACs. And the only reason for that is we've got a very small unit. So we have a small condenser and a small evaporator. And if you've been in this trade more than a couple of years, you know that as efficiencies go up, so typically does the size of the unit. So the more efficient you want it to be, the bigger you have to make it. But if you're going to try to maintain, a unit that's both quiet and efficient, there's some things you have to give up. So in the overall scheme of things, the size of this unit doesn't provide for 1819 SEER, but it does provide for a very unique way to satisfy your cooling and heating demands without overly impacting your building. So we rate these units in IEER. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I saw that. CER. Yeah.
CER. And so CER is combined energy efficiency ratio. Now that's what room air conditioners are rated in. So if you were to go down to Sears and look, or is there a Sears anymore? I don't even know if they even exist. But go to any store that sells room air conditioners, and you'll find that they're rated also in CER. That's combined. What that means is it's very similar to seasonal energy efficiency ratio, but it also includes watts that are used during the off cycle or during standby. So,
which is good. Okay, yeah, that's what I wanted to know.
Yeah, so all it means is you're taking into account the watts in standby mode, which SEER does not. Okay, so if you look at our CERs, I think the Smart is 9.37, and I think the Pro is 9.7. But because if you take those watts out, which are again measurable but not really significant, the SEER for the Pro would be about 9.8, and on the Smart it would be about 9.4 to 9.5. So
we're blowing a window shaker up. Then you're I mean, as far as you're outperforming them dramatically.
Yes,
that's my concern. That's where that's what I'm looking for.
So the mini splits can say, well, we can get one that's 19 SEER, but we have to have a refrigeration guy install it and pay $500 for permits. Where's the payback there? So we think it's very much worth it. So the Maestro Twin is the next evolution, and I'm looking forward to this coming out because this will allow you to have a unit that has to be mounted on an outside wall, but then you can have a second fan coil unit on an inside wall, and you just have to run refrigerant lines and electric to it like you would say the second air handler on a mini split, multi-zone, if you will. And now it takes the capacity of the unit and it kind of distributes it to both units and provides more capacity to the unit that has a greater demand for it. So, and that can be on an inside wall as well. So the Maestro Twin, I had hoped to have that by the end of the year, but because of this virus thing, our labs are basically not functioning, although our manufacturing continues. But the R&D work has almost stalled because you can't do R&D without a lab, and we can't use the lab until these restrictions are done. So I'm going to estimate we'll probably see this second quarter of 21.
Awesome. So more of a VRF system?
Well, I mean, VRF is an animal unto itself, but it's more like if you have a Mitsubishi or a Daikin or Fujitsu where you have a condenser outside and two evaporators inside, it changes how much refrigerant goes where, and when you have an inverter driven motor, you can do a lot of things with that.
Yep. Okay.
So this is something that I would say would probably have an interest for you folks in your commercial world. This is what we call our B2 Air, and it can be installed on a wall, high, medium, low. It's a very, very quiet unit, and it's also very low profile. So this can be a two-pipe, basically it's a fan coil that you can have a cooling coil in there, say that you're going to run chiller water to if your building has a chiller, but you can also run a heating coil in there. So you can have just heating, just cooling, or you put both coils in, and now you have heating and cooling, which gives you what? Dehumidification capability with using just hot and cold water, okay? So the neat part about this is, you can see here in yellow, it's only 5 8.1 inches deep. Okay, so it has a very low profile, and it's a clean installation. It has a remote control that comes with it. It has a little option for a Wi-Fi or Bluetooth control panel, and you also have a little on the unit itself, a keypad there where if you lost the remote, you can still work the unit. But it can be either radiant heat with forced convection, radiant heat with natural convection, or cooling with forced convection. So you can set this unit up with many different configurations, and again, be able to satisfy those areas that weren't cooling or heating correctly without running refrigeration lines, running the water lines. The B2 Smart is essentially the same distance here. Here you just see some of the again, high, medium, low applications. And then, I go too far. We also have what we call the B2 Naked. Now, what this is again, a fan coil that can be mounted inside the wall. So basically, the only thing you have on the outside of the wall is a flat grill. And so you have very little impact on the space as regards depth. And a lot of people like having those things kind of hidden away, if you will. There's also a kit that will allow you to install it horizontally, and then all you have are two grills, one for the supply and one for the return. And of course, we have some accessories, like telescopic grills and all of that stuff. So we've got what we think is a good line of accessories for that. And then again, on the unit, it can be Wi-Fi ready if you want to have that capability, Bluetooth capability for a wireless remote that is Bluetooth and not just line of sight. And again, you have your on-off button on the unit with temperature display. And this slide here just shows you a breakdown of some of the components inside the unit. So I typically spend more time on this with the technicians than with the sales side. So that's the B2 line. Any questions on the B2?
We're in Florida. I don't know what heating is.
Exactly. So I didn't think you'd care much about the heating side, but the cooling side, and especially in some of your big deal, I'm sure there's a chiller or two in Florida.
Yeah, we've got quite a few of them.
Yeah. So, this gives you a good option to add in some additional zones, just coming off your main chiller lines. So the last product I wanted to just briefly cover is our Dolce Clima, which is our portable units. So these are marvelous units for consumers or businesses that are having that one room that's been a little tough to handle. Maybe it doesn't get used all the time. But one of the things, we've sold a great many of these things to our contractors that are now providing breakdown relief for consumers. So let's say a contractor buys 10 of these and they come in various sizes. Now they go to a consumer's home and the compressor is shot, the unit has to be replaced, but they can't get to it for 3 days or 3 weeks. So they give the customer a quote to replace their system, but it includes providing heating and air conditioning while they're waiting by putting 4 or 6 or 7 of these in their house, one in each room. Now they have heating and air, or not that you care about the heating, now they have air conditioning. And then when the contractor comes in and fixes the unit, they just pull those units back out again. Or if the consumer doesn't want to have them do the work, they can rent them, and they'll rent them for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it takes, and then they give them back. So a lot of opportunity for that. There are 3 different sizes. We have what we call the compact, and that is a 10,000 BTU system. And if you look in the right-hand side there, you see the components that come with it. So you can basically, you take your duct and you put it into the hole, and the window closes down on this, and now all your exhaust heat is going outside. Okay, so for drain, because it's portable, you can just put a bucket underneath there, or you can put a pump on there for depending on how long it's going to be in that place. And then each of the units come, well, first of all, this slide is wrong. It's a 3-year warranty on those Dolce Climas, but this is all the electrical specs that you need. We also have a 14,000 BTU model with 11,000 BTUs of heat. And it has, again, the all the specifications required. And then we have the 14 AC only, which is probably one that you'd have more interest in down there because it does not have any heating. And then, of course, the specs for it as well. So that's about it, fellas. You know, it's a, I think we went over our time a little bit, but we got in some good questions and covered a few different things. That is the product line. I put my cell phone on here, so if you wanted to write that down, as I said, I do all the technical support. I do the application support parts, and that 800 number that I gave you earlier is more or less that 800 number just rings to my cell phone anyway, okay? So you can call me whenever you feel you need some help. I always tell folks that if you call me during the day, if I don't answer the phone, it's for one of two reasons. I'm probably in a webinar or in a meeting, or I'm 65 miles offshore chasing tuna and I don't have any cell signal out there.
Yeah, hopefully most of the time you're chasing tuna.
Well, if I did it most of the time, I wouldn't have a job anymore.
Yeah, but hey, we wouldn't be mad at that.
No,
Well,
not at all.
But my point is this: you can call me anytime, and I will usually be there to answer it. And you know, it could be after 5 o'clock, or it could be. I'm usually at my desk at 6 or at the latest 6:30. So if you have something going on early, you can always call my cell phone. If you call my cell phone after 6 p.m. on a Friday night, chances are I'll be on my second Grey Goose Martini. So you may not want the answer I'll give you.
You're going to get along just fine with us.
Yeah. But like I said, it's you know, my job is to support you in whatever you need from the technical side, parts and all of that stuff. So don't ever hesitate to call.
No, we appreciate it. No, that was very helpful, and yeah, we're extremely interested in getting started and definitely see an opportunity. I do have one last question for you, Jack.
Sure.
I don't
Actually,
know if this is for
there's
you.
one other thing I want to show you, so go ahead and ask your question while I find it.
No, I was just curious if, you know, it being a new product and all, and obviously there's a pioneering effort here. It's new to the state. If there's a large opportunity or a big contractor that wants to try a unit, or, you know, wants to test one out, I mean, do you have any like dent and scratch units, or like is there a personal use discount, or is it just kind of one of those things where we got to be better salespeople and they buy it at full price?
You know, I mean, I think Diego would be the better person, because he does do that. In other words, if you're going to, you know, buy it for, say, personal, there would be discounts there. If you had you know, scratch and dent, we don't really have, because typically,
Right.
You know, well, first of all, we just don't have that kind of an issue right now. But let me see if this is the one I wanted to bring up. My recommendation is always that if there's anything you want or need when it comes to the sales side, talk to Diego. And he's a business person. He understands the value of doing things. You know, he's giving away demos to people, or, you know, a demo unit, so if they have one that they can work with, you know. So
Right. Yep. Okay. I'll get a hold of him. Yeah. We have some, you know, an easy, the path of least resistance probably for us, as I said, rather than, you know, pounding on the distributors, is, you know, for example, we have a company in Florida that we work closely with some of our other product lines. It's a company called Bel Air. They have 8 locations throughout the state, probably the biggest contractor. But you take one of these units and you put it in their hands and let them see the benefits of it and install it. I mean, that, you know, that could really take off.
And again, if the potential is there, I'm sure Diego will step up to the plate. Okay. Now this, what I'm showing you here, when I was in Florida, I spent the whole month of April in Florida, in Claremont, okay? And I was going freaking batshit crazy because I wasn't able to travel anywhere. So I spent some time and built a demo that I can take videos and do training videos and everything. So this is the front of it. So this is on wheels and you can roll it around, and it just looks like a unit that's mounted on a wall and plugged into the wall. And you know, it looks like a kitchen floor or whatever on the bottom, right? And then on the back, it looks like a wall that has you know, some some grass, and this is what you see on the outside. Okay, so we had one of these built for us and if you went to ASHRAE, you probably saw it. Okay,
Yep.
we were charged almost $2,600, I think, for that. And I built this myself, and here's all the receipts that I attached on here. And I built this. I spent, what was it, $360 to build this thing. And I was doing it by myself and designing it as I went along, because I added in some features that the other one didn't have as well. But when you can actually roll something into their office and plug it in the wall, that helps as well. And like when you have trade shows and things, you know, this kind of thing can prove quite handy. This is how I constructed it. I've got swivel casters up front. I made it out of 2x6s, and it's basically a 4x4 base with a 4x4 wall. Okay, and this is just the construction process, showing everywhere, you know, each different. So this I thought was kind of neat. So it looks like it's just a plug on the front, but in the, you know, a wall plug. On the back, it's a 15-foot cord that I cut 4 foot off of the female end and plugged it in here, and then the male end goes out through the bottom, and then it gets, you know, run to a wall. Okay, but I used that 4-foot piece that was left over, and I have it tied up near the top. So when you're out at a trade show or something, you can just, there's a little flap I put in there. You can plug in your charger and charge your phone while you're standing there by the demo.
Don't lie. I'm going to make it a 2x6 so I can put a couple of bottles of Grey Goose.
Well, if you look down the bottom here, that's why I made it out of 2x6s. Everything, when you break this thing down to transport it, all the parts just go inside the wall there, and then you put the back is held on. Where's there are 4 thumb nuts on here. 1, 2, 3, 4. You take those 4 thumb nuts off, and the whole back wall comes off. Then you put all your stuff in there, put it back on again, and this is the whole thing shipping. I drove from Claremont, Florida to Hampton, Virginia with that unit on the top of my car. Of course, if you have
Nick, you're going to need a truck.
What's that?
I said, Nick, you're going to have to get rid of that and get a pickup truck.
Yeah. Well, I owned a pickup truck most of my life, but I don't need it anymore. And there's that little plug sitting there on the left showing you how to, you know, like I said, you could keep your phone charged, you know. So that's really it, guys. I was just, you know, if you ever feel like you have a need for this, I could send you these instructions, and like I said, 2 people could probably build this whole thing in less than a day, and now you have something nice to show, you know, with your customers when you're going to trade shows and all. You know?
Awesome. If you're ever back in Claremont, let me know. I'm in Orlando, so I'm not too far.
Oh, okay, yeah. Next time I get down there, yeah. Well, again, when I get back down there, my sister's one of those weirdos that